everybody. Good morning. My name is Lisa Mitchell, and I will be talking to you about making your resume look amazing for when you apply to internships or later on when you apply for a job. So this is keywords for success. So my name is Lisa Mitchell, and I am a NASA education specialist. I sit at Armstrong Flight Research Center here in California. And my co-host today, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Carlos Aguirre, and I'm a NASA Internships Program Coordinator for Ames Research Center.
Thank you. So today we'd like to share keywords for success and why they matter. And then we want to talk a little bit about our programs. I work for a program called NCAS, and Dr. Aguirre works for NASA Internships. And so we'll talk a little bit about our programs and how resumes are helpful in each of those programs. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like you to look at this opportunity. And it is a resume from a while back. And I just want you to put in the chat, what is something that you notice about this resume? It's actually a pretty well-written resume. It's very simple. It's easy to read, but it's very difficult to tell what the person is applying for. So when you are writing your resume, it is very important to pick really descriptive action verbs. So you may have noticed in that resume that some of the words were very simple. Like I taught this. If you have several similar experiences, it's good to use a variety of different action verbs. So when creating work experience bullet points, think about different action verbs. And if you aren't really sure what you should be writing, it's good to use a thesaurus or to even go online and you can do a search of action verbs for and then whatever position you're applying for. So if you're going for an engineering internship or an education internship, you can look up action verbs for engineering or action verbs for education. So you want to use specific action verbs because you want to catch the attention of whoever is going to be looking over your resume. So you want to instill confidence in your abilities and you want to catch the reviewer's eyes. You want your resume to really stand out. So as an example, a lot of people say, I led this, or I led that, or I started this. Instead of using those words over and over again, you could use words like I chaired this, or I developed this program. I coordinated something. I executed this action. I proposed this idea. So these are just different words that can mean something similar to words that you already have in your resume. So you really want to ask yourself as you're writing your resume, how can you make your resume stand out with action verbs? So here's that same resume again, and I want you to take a second look at it. And this time I want you to see if you can find a verb that you can replace with a different action verb, something that instills confidence. And if you can type it into the chat, that would be awesome. So worked could definitely be replaced. What do you think would be another word that could replace worked? It's one of those things you have to think about. So I also used this resume managed. Good. Yeah. So I also chose this resume because it is clean. It's really easy to read, but can you tell what position this person was applying for just by reading over what is written here? And so some things I would like you to think about are, because this person is applying for an engineering internship, and they talk about what they did in their job, but sometimes when you're writing your resume, you also want to talk about the skills you learned. So skills are very valuable, and we'll talk more about skills in a second. So what skills did you learn? My first job that I had when I was I was in community college also, I worked at McDonald's, and I made change. I worked as a cashier, and I did some of the things that this person did as well. So instead of just saying, oh, I was a cashier, I took people's money, I handed people their food, instead of simply stating what I did, I could talk about the skills that I learned while I was in that position. So for a concession stand, this person could have said that they were a cashier in a fast-paced environment. And as a reviewer of your resume, that would tell me that you work well under pressure. So that might be a skill that you could include on your resume. For the color guard coach, this person mentioned that they volunteered. So that shows that they have to have really good time management. And time management is an important skill when you are working at a job. Also for the color guard position, this person mentioned that they mentioned leadership in the second line, but they put it in the middle. And I would lead with that because leadership is an important skill. And because this person was working with a color guard, which is a team, I would also state that I acquired team building skills. And that is an extremely valuable thing to have on your resume. For the animal keeper, animal keeping has nothing to do really with engineering, but it does show that this person was very reliable, because in order to keep the animals healthy and alive, this person had to be reliable. They had to show consistency. They had to show that they cared about someone other than themselves. And also at the bottom, it's hard to see a little bit, but they said that this person said they were also a housekeeper. And again, that shows that they were reliable. It can also show that they were efficient, that they got the job done and moved on to the next job. And this person, had they just focused a little bit more on their skills rather than on what they did, sometimes the skills are much more important. What you learned from a position is really important to include on your resume. So why keywords? Keywords should include specific job requirements. You should include your skills and your competencies. So what skills do you have that somebody who is either going to hire you for an internship or a job, what do you think they want to see? And any relevant credentials as well. So if you have a certificate in something, you want to put that on your resume. At a glance, the keywords show that you are a good fit for that opportunity. And a lot of times reviewers of resumes will simply peruse your resume and look for those keywords. A good way to know what keywords a company is actually looking for, or an internship is looking for, any opportunity is looking for, is to go to their About Us page and to read through what their company does, how they promote themselves. If they are a big company that has commercials, you can watch commercials, because a lot of times those things, they'll drop some of their keywords into those places, and you can get an idea of those keywords. So you can emphasize them. You don't need to. A lot of times it'll go through a computer first, but if there's a specific skill that you have that is very prominent, you might want to, but I don't think it's really necessary. But that was a great question. So one thing that in reviewing so many student resumes that I've noticed is that students will be very vague about their skills, possibly because they feel insecure. And you want to be very specific about your skills, because different opportunities are looking for specific skills. So sometimes students will say, oh, I can do Microsoft Office suite, but they're really, really good at Word, or they're really good at spreadsheets and Excel. So you want to be very specific and state on your resume that you are either proficient or that you are familiar or acquainted with. So kind of rate your abilities a little bit and then state the skills. So, so state like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, or don't just say programming languages. You want to be very specific about the programming languages that you have, that you can use. And it also does help, again, if you kind of qualify. I'm proficient. I am very proficient. I am familiar with this. So here is another sample of a resume, and how many keywords can you see here? So just do a rough count and type it in chat if you will. So kind of looking at this, like all, you found 4. Okay, good, 4. It's really up to you. So like down here, all of these languages, each one would be, I would count each one as a keyword, because it's a very specific skill that they have. So if you could you share one word that you found that's a keyword? Oops. Maintain. Okay, that's an action verb. Yeah, so that definitely works. So some other ones, like developing is a good action verb. Chatbot would be a good keyword. Python. So this person says they're familiar with Linux. So that's a good way to qualify how well you can use that program. So bots, humans, and keywords. A lot of times, a human being is not the first reviewer of your resume. So a lot of bigger companies, and including NASA, they use computers to preview resumes for those specific skills and keywords. And often in opportunities, you'll see that there are keywords not listed, but they're embedded in the opportunity. So you kind of have to read through them carefully to find those keywords. So the bots will scan digital resumes and they'll search for specific words. And sometimes the computer will separate the resumes into different piles, and they'll say, you know, like these words go to this opportunity, these words go to that opportunity. So that's one reason why it's important to put the keywords for the specific opportunity that you want. Before you submit your application or your resume for application, you should scan the description or the company website to make sure that your keywords in your resume match. And you don't want to copy paste from an opportunity or from the internet, because that will probably disqualify you. They can tell right away if people have just copy pasted. So you want to be honest about your skills. You want to be informative. You want to let the person who is reviewing your resume to know what your skills are and hopefully what your level of familiarity with those skills is, so that they know that you are the best person for that position. And if there are any numbers that you have to show your performance, so you want to show that you improved something by 10%, or you helped to write 25 news releases. So if any numbers that you can include, that will really draw the eye of a resume reviewer, and it will really stand out. So if you published 2 papers, use that number so that the reviewer can see what you have accomplished. So numbers are very eye-catching, and you can use them to really make your resume stand out. So it doesn't look like we have enough people for a breakout room. So this one looks fairly easy to read. So I'll give you about a minute to just read through this. And if you can find any keywords or any action verbs that really stand out and put them in the chat, that would be awesome. So I'm going to give you about a minute. Read through it. Any keywords or any action verbs that you find in this opportunity, go ahead and type them in the chat. And this is an actual opportunity for a NASA internship. Distill and curating. Those are excellent action verbs. Producing. So as you can see, this has to do with social media. So if you were going to apply for this internship, it might be a good idea to talk about your own experience with social media and how many likes some of your posts have gotten producing. So we'll do one more really quick. It's kind of a long one, so we'll do this one. So this is a shorter one. And this one is for an engineering opportunity. So read through here and try to focus on skills. What are some skills that you see in this one? Good. Yes. Java, GIS systems, HTML, Excel, Word, Java, JavaScript. Good. PDS. And notice here they qualified familiarity. So they want you to be familiar with some of these things. So that's another good data related skills. Yes. So good. You guys got this. So this was if we did a breakout, but we did that already. So why would we use a resume? You can use a resume when you go to an on-site visit, and different NASA activities or different opportunities will invite you to their building so that you can actually see the facility. So bring your resume if you go on site to a company or NASA or SpaceX, something like that. Always keep a hard copy with you so that if somebody brings it up, you can just whip it out and hand it over to someone. Job and career fairs. If your school holds a job or career fair, bring resumes with you. Networking events, volunteer opportunities. Sometimes if you are volunteering at a place, like let's say a company sponsored it, you may have an opportunity to use your resume with somebody from the company there. Job opportunities. If you go to an interview or if you go to something where you are just looking for information, bring your resume with you. If you ask for a letter of recommendation, it's always a good idea to give the person that you're asking for a letter of recommendation a copy of your resume also. So that helps the person writing your letter of recommendation know what your skills are so that they can write you a really good letter. Professional conferences like SACNAS, that if we were in person, it would be a good idea to have a hard copy of your resume with you. When you apply to NCAS, you're going to submit a resume, not for us to look at, but your mentor would look at your resume and give you helpful tips and hints on how to improve it for NASA, and also when applying for a NASA internship, you would use one. So I help run a program called NCAS, and it stands for NASA's Community College Aerospace Scholars. And I'm the Western Region Coordinator of that program. And to be a part of this program, you need to be a US citizen, and a naturalized citizen is a US citizen. You need to be a high school graduate and at least 18 years of age. You should be currently enrolled in a US community college. You can have concurrent enrollment, but you should have 9 STEM units under your belt or be taking those classes when you apply. And those STEM hours can be from multiple schools. So if you transferred from one community college to another, that's fine. As long as you have those 9 hours, it doesn't matter if you were at one school or a couple different ones. But you do have to be a community college student. You need to be able to commit to a 5-week online session, and you need internet access, and you can't have already participated in the activity once before.
Hey, Lisa, I'll unmute myself to talk about the internships part. So to become a NASA intern, it's similar eligibility requirements. Again, US citizen, a minimum of a 3.0 GPA, full-time students, although during this virtual environment, NASA internships does allow for part-time internships. And so you can be a high school student through graduate student, 16 years of age at the time of application. And for undergrads and graduate students, you must be enrolled full-time in a degree granting program at an accredited college or university.
So part of NCAS, it's got two parts. There's an online course that lasts for 5 weeks. And if you pass it with 70% or better, then you can qualify for a NASA experience. During that NASA experience, you compete in a STEM engineering design challenge. You can network with NASA's diverse STEM workforce. You collaborate with like-minded students in a team environment, and you strengthen your understanding of what it's like to work in a STEM environment by enabling connections with NASA's mission and work. So to apply, all you have to do is go to this website. You put in your information. They'll send you back an email with your own personalized application when you fill it out and send your transcripts. And you just have to write a short essay, 300 words or more, to explain why you want to participate. And then you can, you have applied. And once you have to wait a short period of time until the online course begins. But as soon as the online course begins, then you just complete the course. And if you pass with a grade of 70% or better, then you can be invited to the NASA experience. And it's a really great program. So we are going to have our next online session in October, and applications are currently open. We have an information session on May 14th, so in about 2 weeks from today. And if you would like more information about that, you can go to our website. This is the web address for the info session. And
There is a question in the chat, I think, for NCAS, Lisa.
okay, thanks. So with up to 3 recommendations, do you have suggestions on how the letters could differ or stand out? The recommendations are, we just want to know that the person is academically, that they are being consistent and that they are being responsible in their classes. So they don't need to stand out. We say they can give us 3 letters, but we really only need 1. So they can ask 3 different professors for letters of recommendation, but we really only need 1. And our recommendations by faculty required, it needs to be someone that knows you academically. So they need to know how you perform at school. So, and it needs to be somebody that you are either working with currently or someone that you have worked with at your college. So it can be a counselor, it can be a professor. In California, there are programs like MESA and different STEM clubs, and they have advisors. So an advisor would be somebody who could give a letter of recommendation also. It doesn't have to be a professor, but it should be somebody that knows you academically.
All right, thank you, Lisa. So now I'm going to give a NASA internships overview. And so for NASA internships, we have 3 sessions, spring, summer, and fall. Spring and fall are 16-week long. and summer is either 10 or 12 weeks, depending on your availability. We do just have one application system used for all centers across the country, which is just the website intern.nasa.gov. That's where you apply. That's where you can find a lot of information and get most of your questions answered. Next slide. Some important dates for internships is there in the orange arrow, at least for 2021, July 9th. So in about a little less than 2 months, is the final deadline for student applicants for fall 2021 NASA internships. I highly recommend that you apply before July 9th. So some mentors are even reviewing applications for their fall projects right now. So I definitely recommend for you to apply by the end of May, early June. The earlier, the better. Next slide. So what majors does NASA internships look for? Primarily, yes, we do look for STEM majors. However, as you saw on some of the NASA internships opportunities in which we're finding keywords, there are also postings for non-STEM opportunities. And so those internships for non-STEM could be in communications, public affairs, journalism, education, business, and finance, and even law as well. So some things that we routinely have postings for mentors are in programming, languages, coding, computer science, machine learning, social media is a big one regarding non-STEM opportunities. And database administration is also a big one regarding non-STEM opportunities. Next slide. So how can you make your NASA internships application stand out? So apply to every session that you are available for an internship. So on the website, you indicate your availability. And if you're available for all sessions, I highly recommend to check all sessions as your availability. And a good fact to know is that you can apply to up to 15 opportunities per session. Do not limit yourself to just 3 to 5 that you highly like on the website. I strongly recommend to apply to 15 opportunities. Broaden your horizon. Apply to both STEM and non-STEM, and anything that catches your eye. Spell out any program acronyms. So if you've had previous experiences, either in past NASA programs or any programs at your school, spell out those acronyms. So in this case, NCAS would be NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars. So it definitely helps for us to just see what programs you've been a part of. And explain in detail your research interest and technical skills, right? So there is both a box where we ask you to fill in with either phrases or sentences, your academic and also your technical skills experience. So definitely fill that out with a short paragraph. But then, as we've been mentioning throughout this presentation, there's then a box where you can fill in with keywords, which is what mentors use to filter out applications. So once they filter out applications using keywords, is then when they go back to fully read that paragraph in which you talk about your skills. And there's 2 skill sections, a computer skills section and a special skills section. Be thorough for both, and but avoid exhaustive paragraphs. And what's interesting, I can actually tell you kind of like a funny story that in the special skills, if it's for a STEM project or even a non-STEM project, those special skills could be your hobbies or anything that you have a passion for. A funny story is that I think it was a physics intern actually put under the special skills that she's an opera singer. So that caught the attention of the people, looking through her application. And so that's something that you can do to stand out. And again, that last bullet point is provide a list of keywords, which is what the mentors use to filter applications. Frequently asked questions that we get for the NASA internships program is, do I need a letter of recommendation? So the answer is yes, at least 1 letter of recommendation. 2 to 3 are common during this virtual environment, and they're also updating the website. The letter of recommendation feature is actually no longer exists in the website because it's being updated. So at the moment, you actually don't need to upload any letter of recommendations. So that's not an error. If you do go apply, that is not an error, and don't worry that the system is not accepting letter of recommendations currently. And so will housing be provided? Housing is not provided when things are in person. Interns need to relocate, and that's the responsibility of the interns upon acceptance. We do forward you a housing guide that is helpful in identifying housing options in the area, depending which NASA center you accept an internship for. How much will you be paid if you accept a NASA internship? For fall spring internships, which are 16 weeks, undergrads get paid a little bit more than 11,000, and graduate students get paid a little bit more than 14,000. During the summer, which could be either 10 or 12 weeks, undergrads get paid a little bit more than 7,000 for that session, and graduate students get paid 9,000. Next slide. So if you're ready to apply, which we definitely encourage you to apply, there's a screenshot of what it'll look like on your screen on your laptop. That's the intern.nasa.gov website. That orange arrow indicates where it says click here to apply today. So that's where you click. And then next slide. Oh, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm. So we hope you follow your dreams through NCAS or a NASA internship and invest in yourself, and we invite you to excel. So if you have any questions, I'm going to stop sharing, and if you'd like to ask questions, you can put them in the chat and we'd be happy to answer. Or if you'd like to unmute your mic and ask the questions, you can. How difficult would you say is the NCAS experience? It's fun. It's challenging, but you're working with a team environment. And so I've had engineers working as they're NASA engineers. They are mentoring our students, and at the end of the experience, they say, wow, this is just exactly what we do every day. So it really is very similar to working in a STEM environment. And we make it a little bit more challenging because there's kind of a time crunch, but it's a lot of fun.
And I will say, add on to that, at least for NASA internships, and I'm sure that Lisa will echo this for NCAS, it's an experiential learning experience. So we do not expect interns to, come in being experts or knowing everything for the project, right? Mentors are aware, and obviously us coordinators and program managers, that when a student accepts an internship, they're coming to learn. They're coming to learn, and so don't worry or be nervous that you need to know everything in whatever project you accept.
Mm-hmm. Even at NCAS, we fully expect that this is a new experience for you, and we want you to ask questions, because that's one thing that a lot of students and even adults, they feel insecure because they feel like, well, I should know everything if I'm going to go do this internship or this experience or apply for this job. And a lot of learning goes on the job. So the same thing is true with these experiences, just like your first class of every semester is probably when you feel the most awkward. It's when you're the most uncertain, but after a couple of weeks, you're like, oh, got to go to this class. Oh, got to go to that class. And that's kind of how we want you to experience NASA. Is we want you to give you that confidence in yourself to know that, yes, I can do this. This is doable for me.
Yeah, and I'll give you some examples, at least from NASA internships program. So, I do individual check-ins with interns, which are about 70 per session, or for summer it's more actually. And we the majority always say during their check-ins, which are during mid-session, they say, I'm barely actually getting in the groove of my project. I'm starting to understand it, and etc. And that's common. So it's common for the first half of the internship to be a lot of learning, and you feel kind of lost, but it's just because you're learning. It's something new. And then after that midpoint, you just take off with the project, and that's when all the data and the results start trickling in.
So we have a question: how do NCAS opportunities vary? For example, I'm an environmental sciences major. What opportunities would there be for me? So the experience itself does not vary. It's relatively the same experience, but because we get NASA employees to act as mentors, we have NASA speakers, we have NASA career speaker, and we'll often have NASA directors or people that can talk about NASA as a whole. We try to get different in different roles. So like we often have a lot of biology majors, so we'll try to get somebody in that. And if we don't have somebody in your field of study, then you can talk to the mentors and you can get contacts, or somebody from the center, or they can share information with you about how to get in touch or how to find out about your field of study, because NASA does a lot, especially with the environment and the earth. So there's definitely something there for you. It's just a matter of connecting you with that resource. So kind of along the lines of the story that Carlos shared, when I was at JPL, because I run NCAS in California in the Western region. And so I was at JPL for an event, and I was speaking with an employee, and he shared with several students that he got hired. His resume was noticed, and he got hired because he put a hobby that he enjoyed doing, which was watch repair. And when they called him and asked him for an interview, and they interviewed him, he shared his love of watch repair, and they hired him right away, because they said that because of that hobby, he was able to diagnose problems and fix them. And so that's a very valuable skill to have that he put on his resume. And he almost didn't put it on his resume, but he just put it on there because he didn't have that much. It wasn't very full. So he put that on there, and that ended up being the thing that stood out for him. If you have other questions, we're happy to answer them. If no one has questions, Daniela, should we release everybody, or? How did you do that, Marilyn? I saw that. Thank you. Awesome. Well, we were glad that you guys were here for our presentation. We hope that you can use this information. And if you apply for a NASA internship or for NCAS, it would be very awesome and exciting for you. So thank you for being here. Okay, have a good day, everybody. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you for your assistance. I appreciate it. not sure what that is, Maribel. If they if they are citizens, then yes. So I know some programs, because I'm just learning about some of these different things. Some programs you have to wait a certain number of years before you become a citizen. So if you have like a US passport or a card that says that you're a citizen, or if the parent is a citizen and that makes them a citizen automatically, then yes, as long as they are a citizen. Let me give you an email address. So I'll share this email address with you, Maribel, and you can email them and give them specific information about these acts, and we can do more research. So if you email jsc@ncas@mail.nasa.gov. So hopefully, and then we will send it to our lead, and then let our lead do the research, and we can email you back with the answer. So since I don't know that right offhand, because there are a lot of things that I'm finding out that I have never heard of, and so we will have to look into that. But thank you very much for your question, and thank you, Daniela, for your time.